All right, got a quick video here today. I am about to do my testing on this Grenner Power 12.8 volt battery, and I did a video on the mini version. I think this is the group 24 size or group 31 size battery. I forget exactly, but I'll video on this one later. I'm going to be doing my typical battery of tests on this, and you'll have that video shortly. But before I get into that, I wanted to make a separate video on a common question I get on my battery reviews as to why I don't open these up and take a look inside. A lot of these battery reviews you see in some other channels, they'll tear this down and it'll show you, how the thing looks inside, the BMS, the wiring, and what kind of cells, the chemistry of the cells they have inside there. Of course, they'll all be lithium iron phosphate, but they may be different types like prismatic or pouch or even like cylindrical cells. And the reason I don't do that is because even though I may tear it down and show you what's inside, what you're going to get is, if you buy from the same link on Amazon, is probably going to be different. And there's a pretty interesting reason, pretty basic reason as to why that is. And that's because there's these companies, like this is Grenner Power, there's some other common ones out there like Litecoin and Shins. There's probably like 150 different brands on Amazon that sell these very, very common and typical batteries. And they're all trying to sell these at the lowest possible cost. It's obviously because the customers for these are very price sensitive, and they're not necessarily looking for the highest quality battery. They're looking for the best quality for the lowest price. And in order to do that, they often contract manufacture out these what's inside here to a wide variety of basically factories that build these. If you think about all the brands that are on Amazon, 150, maybe 200 different brands that sell these kind of batteries, they don't each have their own factory. They basically contract with probably about 5, maybe 6 different factories that are in China that do the build for them. Now, they may do some customization. Obviously, they're going to have different colored cases, for example, and different components inside. And that is the reason why I don't open these up and show you what's inside, because I guarantee you that if you buy this and you look at my video, or you look at someone else's video and you see what's inside, if you open up yours, it's probably going to be a little bit different. They're probably going to have a different BMS, maybe some different cells. So I did see something on Reddit maybe a year ago. Some guy bought 2 Chins batteries from very recently, I guess very close together on Amazon, within a week. And they came from two different warehouses, from my understanding. And they were, on the outside, they look exactly the same black box. But one of them went bad, and so he opened them both up, and one of the cells was bad on the one that had prismatic cells. The other one, which looks exactly the same on the outside, had, I believe they were pouch cells. And I think they had different BMSs. So you may be buying these, if you see my video, or if you see someone else's video, and if you buy them even within a week or two of when their video came out, it might look different on the inside, because they basically purchase these from factories based on specs, and the factories will decide what to put inside here. And so that's why I don't open these up, because there's no guarantee that you're going to get the same components that you're going to see in my video versus what you buy at some point later in time. And what you should do is, if you see other videos where they open them up and they show you what's inside, ask them, especially if it's like maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, ask them, hey, do you know if I buy this battery today, will it look exactly the same as what you showed in your video 6 months ago? And I bet you they won't even answer your question, but if they did, I bet you anything that they can't say that's going to look exactly the same, because they do these companies, they commonly switch components on the fly, and there's no like serial number or anything like that in terms of like specs as to how it's going to be built. So what you're going to get is just going to be different. So in order to mitigate this issue, what I recommend is getting it from Amazon so you can return it within 30 days and do your tests for what you're going to be using it for. So for me in my videos, I do some basic tests within the specs of the battery. I don't try and do extreme tests like you'll see some in other channels, because I don't really see what the point of doing that would be, because you're going to get so much variation in the batteries that some are going to perform well in those tests and some won't. And I guarantee you that when someone finds that it doesn't perform well, they just won't show you the video. They just don't make the video. So I just do like the basic tests, like for example, the BMS on here is like going to be 100 amps. And I will do my test with my 1000-watt inverter, probably draw like 120 amps, maybe exceed the specs by a little bit, just see that everything is working. That's what I would recommend that you do for when you buy your battery is, do the test in the way that you're going to be using it, and make sure that, it lasts over a few days. Make sure you can do the capacity test, charge it all the way up, drain it a few times, cycle it a few times, and make sure that, things aren't acting weird, getting like random shutoffs, it's not getting too hot, stuff like that. Things that I do in my videos when I test it, just do those same type of things, but for your particular use cases, and just make sure it passes your tests. And then if it doesn't, then you can always return it. So that's what I would always recommend is do the test, make sure that it meets your standards. And if it does, then it will if it lasts, on your test within the first couple of weeks, it will probably last, 5-6 years easily. It's very rare that the battery will, work for like a week or two, and then suddenly in 6 months it fails. That's pretty unusual, unless your tests or things that you're using it for later on exceeded what you did initially. So for example, if you initially at the first couple weeks you only tested it to say 80 or 90 amps, but then like a few months down the road you started doing 200 amp tests on this one, and you're wondering why it's shutting off, that's probably because your tests have exceeded the range that you had done originally at the beginning. So that's basically why I don't open these up, because you're not going to know what you're going to get, and you can actually buy two of the same thing on the same day. If it comes from two different warehouses, they might be inventory that were sent to that warehouse at different times, and then inside is going to be different. So one battery might have one BMS and a different kind of BMS than another one, even though it looks exactly the same on the outside. It could have different types of cells inside, one prismatic, one cylindrical, and one pouch, for example. And that's why, the only thing that really matters is the specs and whether or not they can meet your standards for your testing. So that's what I recommend, and that's the reason why I'm making this video, is I get that question a lot. I have been sort of rehashing it over and over, but I wanted to make this video, make sure that people understand as to why I don't open up, because it's kind of pointless, and I'm going to be linking that video to people's questions about that in the future. So I will have a full video with all my tests on this battery coming up soon, probably in a week or two. And if you want to see the review on the mini size version, slightly smaller but same capacity from the same company, I did that a few weeks ago. I'll link that in the video description if you guys want to check it out, and you can see the kind of tests I do on my batteries. I do pretty much the same things over and over to be consistent, to make sure that the batteries meet at least what I think are reasonable uses for this size. Obviously, I think this is the only size I mainly test. I have tested some larger ones like 140 amp hour batteries, but I believe those had the same sort of BMS. I think 100 amp BMS is inside them. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Questions, comments, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.